Hello, welcome. Hi. So, as I was saying, thank you guys for taking this time to be with me. I do not take that lightly. And yeah, I'm just really excited to spend this time with you. And first, I just want to tell you guys a little bit about myself. I live in Charleston, South Carolina. Been here about 12 years, live on James Island. We were just connecting about that. And I love it. It's my home space. Like it called my husband and I here. We're raising two daughters here, which is really exciting, a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old. And they are vivacious little women in their own beings. So I take the work that I do in the world really personal because of who I am and also what has been granted to me in my life. So I own collectively with my husband the Mindful Body Pilates Studio. So it's a brick and mortar business here in Charleston. And there, I really like to believe that we treat the whole person. We treat and heal and see them body, mind, spirit, and soul. And that's really the essence of the work that I like to do with people in general, but really my soul has guided me to work with women because I know the power of a female standing in her true essence and what that means to the world and how much we need more of that. And I can see that in the simplicity and beauty of my daughters, that we come into this world ready. And then it tends to be that life starts to knock off some of that fierceness. And it's my goal is to really connect us back to the innate worth and value that we have for ourselves and everyone in our circle. And I like to think about that as the ripple effects. As we shine, we allow other people to shine as well. So I grew up in Boone, North Carolina, so a sweet little mountain town. And I like to think that, my childhood was really full of making forts in the woods during the day and like chasing fireflies at night, and really simple, but like curious and fun, right? And that's what I really try and bring back into the essence of what I'm, asking women to really start to expand the view of what are those things that like really lit us up when we were small. Like, what was it that we just couldn't get enough of? What is it that brought us the most joy and just love, right? That we just could not get enough of it, and we were always looking for it. That being said, it was a beautiful childhood, but I definitely went through my own experience of trials and tribulations. Grew up in a very, I like to think almost black and white world of related to religion or mindset, that it was either one way that was the right way and every other way really didn't fit. There was no room for it. And as I grew as an individual, I realized that didn't really work for me. That wasn't fitting into my life, because I was finding myself in situations where that didn't always feel like a quick fix, and that I was really having to come back to myself to find the answer. And the quote / verse that always comes to me is thinking of physician, heal thyself, right? That we have everything that we need within us at any given moment. And I feel that sometimes when we're told to look outside of ourselves for the answers, it's really an injustice to what we really hold within ourselves. And so I came to the truth through some difficult times in my life of really realizing that in order to achieve the life that I really desired and knew that I deserved, I first had to really realize that I had the ability to believe in myself, in my options. Hi. That I had the ability to see something bigger than what was right in front of me, that I could dream, to take action, and then to literally surrender and trust. And I feel like that has been the biggest marker for my life. And part of my story is to really help every woman in my context invite more freedom and joy into their lives by connecting with that essential nature that they bring to the world. So really beautiful work that I feel so deeply connected to, and I'm excited to bring you guys some of the really the pillars of what I look at of my coaching business. And so really what I'm looking at is the mindset, right? That mindset is everything. And I've really come to acknowledge that I am a conscious mindset mentor, and I help women transform their lives in the most beautiful ways because they're ready, they're ambitious, and they're ready to get there, right? And so that is just some of the really beautiful things that I like to feel as a woman that I can bring to the collective. And I could not be here doing this today if it weren't for I like to call her my Piscean soul sister, Emily Castle. And I just want to give her the recognition of really living that example for all of us. And I've had the honor of knowing her for close to 5 years now. I was thinking about this. I was trying to go back in my mind of when we first met, and she and I met here in Charleston, and we did a really beautiful day immersion at her house, got really clear, and then life kind of got in the way, but I stayed connected with her, and we reconnected about 2 years ago, and I actually went through the same life coach program that Emily did, and it was so highly recommended, and it changed everything for me. And then for the last year, I've had the honor of walking alongside her in the Business Alchemy Circle, which has been spectacular. And for me, I would like to think that the biggest shifts that I've seen in our work together is really like owning and taking responsibility for my time, my schedule, making it a priority, making myself a priority so that I can not only show up for myself, but for my family, my businesses, my husband, all the people in my life, right? And also knowing that I'm not walking that walk alone has been extremely powerful in the sisterhood and group offerings that circle provides. So thank you. It's just been so beautiful, and I couldn't recommend her work enough. So much that I actually just decided last week that I'm going to do the mastermind with Emily. So I'm already excited for the magic to happen there. So a little bit about me, a little bit about the work that we've done together, and I just kind of want to give you guys a layout of what we're going to get into today. So I'd love to start with a really beautiful clarity, meditation, visioning experience, and then get into those pillars. I really like to think of like the 6 pillars of my work, and then hopefully leave some time at the end for some discussion, questions, just what might be coming up. And then I've got a really beautiful freebie to give you guys that around feminine flow and lunar connections. So really connecting with our essence and the environment around us that's beautiful. So I just want you guys, if you can find a comfortable space where you're at, and I just want you to start to be aware of your environment and allow yourself to just drop in. Good. Feel your seat beneath you. And then I just want you to connect with your breath. And I just simply want you to think about how the breath is moving in and out of your body. And then notice as you can just allow the mind to slow and allow the breath to simply breathe you. Invite the air in. Let it calm your senses, knowing that you have nowhere else to be. You're here. You're giving this moment as a gift to yourself. And just rest in the gratitude of that knowing. And as you're allowing the breath to simply move in and out of your body, with your eyes closed, I would love for you to just simply allow your eyes or your gaze to go near that third eye center space, right in between the eyebrows, and just gently allowing the gaze to lift. And as you feel the gaze lifting, I want you to start to connect to the light that is ever present within you, around you, coming into you and surrounding you. Feel the light. Feel how it starts to illuminate your entire body. Allow the light to slowly start to drip down into the crown of your head as it pours this glittery, beautiful essence down over the face and the neck, allowing it to relax your body so completely. The light starts to carry all the way across the collarbone as the shoulders soften and relax. And it carries all the way out into the fingertips. And you feel this gentle buzz throughout your body. It continues to soften down through the heart center, allowing your belly to soften as it goes all the way down through your sacral area and then spans out into the legs and the feet. Feeling the essence that is within you. Good. And as your body feels completely relaxed, I want you to let it feel this sense of ease. Invite that in. More easeful and relaxed than you've ever experienced. And then I just want you to invite yourself coming into that mindset of curiosity and wonder. Imagine that there's a door that appears before you. It's a beautiful door with all these brass hooks and handles. And you feel this gentle tug to come forward. And as you open the door, your senses are completely overtaken by the most beautiful garden. It's the secret garden. Your eyes find all the vibrant colors as you start to walk across the soft, mossy grass. You feel the cool connection of the earth coming up to meet you. You can hear the birds singing a morning chorus. You feel a crisp breeze on your skin. You can smell the fragrant floral bouquet as it tickles your nose. And you continue to walk, and this is like you're nowhere else you've ever been before. It's so fabulous. And you're just in awe as you sit and you start to look around and you allow yourself to feel so completely relaxed here. As you continue to just walk and explore, taking in everything, you start to hear the sound of this gentle stream and you feel the cool breeze get a little bit cooler as you start to get closer and closer to the stream. And then there's this spot that looks so inviting. And you just decide to sit for a moment. Allow your body to just fully relax, feeling the ground beneath you supporting you fully. And as you sit there, you're taking in all of the wonder around you. And your attention is simply caught by a gentle leaf that starts to fall from a limb just above you. And you notice that it looks as if the leaf is just dancing as the wind carries it down. It has nowhere else to go, and it's just gently floating down, 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 until it hits the stream. And the stream just starts to gently carry the leaf away. And then you notice that it's gone. And then you just get curious to notice that there's a couple more leaves that are falling. And you observe them with wonder, taking it in. And as you're watching the leaves just gently float through the sky, you start to become aware of how the leaves also represent your thoughts. And you start to think about how your thoughts can just gently drop in. They're carried down, you're observing with ease, and then you notice that they just gently land on the water and they start to float away. You're just observing and noticing how you begin to feel so easeful and relaxed as you allow your thoughts to just be simply acknowledged and then carried down the stream before you. There's no judgment. You're just becoming the observer. Good. Simply noticing. Knowing that you have everything that you need inside of you now. The thoughts can simply come through, and then you can allow them to release. Noticing that you get to choose which thoughts that you allow to dance in front of the mind a little bit longer than the others. Good. Inviting in all of the thoughts that start to fill the body with ease and zest. Noticing what each thought starts to elicit in your body. Noticing without judgment, just observing. Good. And as you lay there, you're basking in this new awakening. Your mind and body are so deeply connected, and that you have the choice at any moment in time to allow one thought to land, sit with it for a bit, and then you can simply allow it to release down the stream. Good, knowing that we are more than our thoughts, knowing that we have everything inside of us and within us now. Our thoughts, our beliefs, our truth. Letting that land, staying in that space of complete ease. Holding on to that little secret of time, knowing that you are so much more than the information that floats in and out of your mind throughout any given moment of any given day. And then you get to choose exactly how you show up in the world here and now. Relax in that knowing. Deepen into that truth. Good. And gently connecting back with your breath. Deeply inhaling. Deeply exhaling. One more breath in. And out. And as you allow that breath to leave the body, slowly start to twinkle the eyes, allowing the light in the room to come back in. And then just sit for a moment, taking in all that might have come up for you there. Just being in that state of receptivity and knowing. And I'm going to read you a beautiful quote that is from one of my mentors that I love so much. And I hold it so deeply to my heart. And it says, "You have everything you need inside of you now. You are enough. Your dreams are not too big. They're not too small. They're simply yours. You are worthy. You are whole. You are divine. You have everything you need inside of you now." Good. And then just come back into the room. Allowing yourself to just land here. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, good. Beautiful. So something that has been so clear to me in my life and in the work that I have done with so many amazing women is the power of our mind, right? And that there's so much choice in the matter of how we live our lives and the choices that we make. I spent the beginning of my professional career in a hospital setting as an occupational therapist, and working with people in that realm, I got to see the really beautiful truth of how malleable our mind really is, and that if we decide that we're going to heal, we're going to heal. If we make that our truth and we call that in and we stay focused and alive in that, then there's nothing that can stop us. And so breaking that in, I really want to connect with what I found to be extremely powerful and healing for me. And hopefully there'll be a nugget in here that you guys will be able to take away with you. So I'm calling this the 6 pillars of my work. And the first one that I really like to zone in on, the foundation of that, is to uncover your truth and find freedom and surrender. And when I think about that concept, right, is really like, what life are you ready to create? Period. Like, what life do you want for yourself, right? And then really getting honest about what beliefs that we hold in our psyche are truly ours, and what are the ones that we have somewhat sucked up and absorbed from either our childhood or ancestral imprints, or because we were told that that was truth. And really starting to, just like we did in our meditation, looking at our thoughts and beliefs as a gentle leaf that's out in our environment that we can say, yes, this is mine and I choose to take that with me now, or this has reached its expiration date and it's ready to release it now. And really staying in what's my truth, what is mine, and what do I choose to move forward with in that respect. And really thinking about, especially when we get into the idea of transforming our lives or moving into something that feels new or a little intimidating or scary, is really focusing on, why am I moving towards this and what does that mean to me? And really surrendering the how, because I think we get so, I know, in my experience and from what I've seen, we get so caught up in, well, how am I going to get there? I can see this, I can see my vision, I can connect to my truth, but how is that going to happen? And Byron Katie, I love her so much. And I love the way that she says this. There's 3 types of business, right? There's my business, there's your business, and then there's God's business or the universe's business. And when we're not in our business and we're out in everybody else's business or God's business, nobody's taking care of us. So catching when we start to go out into the realm that's not our responsibility, and really connecting to, why is this so important to me, right? And what's my purpose here? And so I feel like is such the foundation of beginning to step into a life that you are ready to create. So uncovering your truth and finding freedom and surrender. And then growing trust in your deeper inner knowings and intuition. And what I know about women is that we have a little superpower and it's called our intuition, right? And we've all experienced it. It's that gut feeling of, oh, like, is that a hell yes or is that a no, right? And in the book, Untamed by Glennon Doyle, I love this example. She walks into a room with teenage boys and teenage girls, and she says, hey, I'm making lunch. Is anyone hungry? The boys, without taking their eyes off the TV, they're like, yeah, I'd like pizza, or, whatever. And then the girls, as if this was an unspoken understanding, they all look up and they look to another girl in the room who's sort of like the understood leader or the one that's going to make the decision in the pack. None of them speak up, and the spoken, the leader of the group, of the pack, says, no, we're okay, thank you. And I think, isn't that such an example of how we've handed our power off to so many other people in our lives, whether it be a group of friends or our parents or our job or whatever it is, and really coming back into listening, noticing, really feeling what's showing up in our body, because our bodies won't lie, right? And just noticing when something drops in, what does that feel like? Do I feel this easeful connection in my heart, or does my belly start to tighten up? And what is that telling me now, right? And think about, I think for a lot of us, having that social proof of remembering in your mind, right? Remembering, oh yeah, there was that time that I followed that intuition and look where it led me, right? Or when I listened to that deeper inner knowing, that little whisper, and it almost never leads us in the wrong direction, right? And it's always helping us grow, even when it feels scary. It's always there working for us, not against us. And so really leaning into that and saying, you know, this is my choice, this is my truth. And then I'm going to drop back into myself, because again, you have everything you need inside of you to find my answer, right? So that's really the second component of the work that I love to do. And the third is awakened mindset evolution, right? It's like a mouthful, but it's so important to have all of that, like waking up what's happening in our mind, not being in the passenger seat of our life. And what science has proven now is that our mind is comprised of our subconscious and our conscious mind, right? There's two different components. And the subconscious mind houses 95% of everything that's coming in and out of our mindset throughout any given day. 5% is left to the conscious mind, which seems a little daunting at first, because we're like, 5% of what I'm actively conjuring up in my mind is there. But the beautiful part, again, going back, is that the mind can be so malleable that we can invite different thoughts in, we can invite different beliefs in, that 95%, we have room to work with that, right? Like there's power there. And deciding where those beliefs are that we want to shift in and out, right? What's our truth? And asking, how can I replace that? How can I replace that negative or self-sabotaging thought with something that's really beneficial for me? It's really important. And also, I think really being gently aware that from the age of, well, from birth up to the age of 7, we're like little bitty sponges. Like we take in everything around our environment. And even though that things are happening around us, we're taking them in as ours. And that from the age of 7 to 8, our little tiny brains literally, they harden, like our cerebral cortex is actually created. It goes, whoop. So it's almost like all the thoughts and beliefs that were in there crystallized. And so moving forward, until we decide that we want to change some of those beliefs or thoughts that we were handed from our parents or our family members or any of those in our community, we take them with us. And so that's really, knowing that is so powerful, because we also get to say, okay, like that was something that was brought to my attention or my awareness, or that I was taught that was right or wrong, but does that really serve me any longer? And really getting honest about that and saying, you know what, like that doesn't work for me anymore. So I'm going to choose to pull it out like a weed out of a garden and replace it with something that's really beautiful, right? We fertilize the soil. So I love that, you know, it's really getting aware of the mindset. And I was reading a book the other day, and I love the way that they said this, that our subconscious mind, if you can think about, we sometimes characterize it as the monkey mind, or that mind that keeps saying the same things over and over in the background. It's sort of like when you're listening to the radio and their greatest hits, right? It's that song that plays over and over and over, right? That you're like, why is that song playing in Target, in my car, like at my friend's house? Why is that coming up over and over again? And also choosing that I can pull that song off the record player and put on some Bob Marley or whatever else that you want, right? Like you get to choose your greatest hits. And so I really love that little trick of like, all right, I noticed that as a repetition, right? Something that's coming up again. And what can I replace that thought with? Beautiful. And then I love the fourth pillar that is so personal to me, and I think so many women that I've worked with and that I've walked alongside with, is self-tending, like sacred self-tending. And I mean this, like the idea of this beyond self-care, like constantly tending to ourselves, dropping in, listening, noticing, giving ourselves the space to start to feel what's coming up. And if it feels joyful or free, calling more of that in. Or if it's something that causes constriction or fear, what's behind that, right? And really getting honest with ourselves around how are we putting our energy into the world, and looking at it as a really beautiful energy exchange, creating boundaries, the power of no, right? That's been something that's been so powerful in my life is, yes, I love and honor every human being, but I also have to start with honoring myself. And if my cup is completely empty in every sense of in the word, then I have nothing to give. Right. And so then we start to get into a space of resentment, and we're not really finding joy in the things that we do in our lives. And coming back to that very first question, like, what type of life do you want to create? And like consciously creating that for yourself, thinking about what is there to release, noticing when fear or judgment, comparison, right? A lot of things that we have been really conditioned to accept as okay, especially in the life of a female, that there's no room for that anymore, right? That again, as we start to rise, as we start to shine, we can allow all of our sisters in the collective to rise with us, beside of us, right? And so really tending to ourselves so that we don't find ourselves getting stuck in those old mental constructs and patterns, really, really important. The fifth idea that I'd love to bring to you guys is the power of awareness. Something else beautiful around mindset and the mind is that our mind literally has no concept of time. So the idea of this is that the only truth that we know to exist is literally here and now, right? That the power of this moment is all that we have and know to be true, that the past is simply an illusion of our minds. And you can think about sometimes when you think about things that have happened in the past, that you'll remember parts of it, but inevitably we leave little chunks out. It's because it's an illusion, right? That it happened, but that it's not all with us still at this moment. And the future is also a vision or an illusion to come into fruition, but it doesn't truly exist. And so this is a really powerful tool, because what we can do with the power of awareness, we can choose the life that we want to create, and then we start living it as if it were already happening. We start to allow those thoughts and mindsets and environment, right? Like what we wear, how we move, what type of food we eat. We call that in. And the beautiful part is if we live it, the body has no idea. The mind knows no different than it's not already happening. And so it's a really powerful tool to just start doing it, right? Like the power of now. And I did this. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Tara Brach. She's just a really beautiful metaphysical mindset teacher. And I was doing one of her courses, and there was this tool that I found really, really empowering to start to connect when thoughts come up that are those repeat offenders, right? That start to reconjure up more and more. And it's the acronym for RAIN. So RAIN. So the R is recognize your thoughts. Just recognize them, sort of like we did in the meditation of being the observer. Recognize them without judgment. And then simply allow them in. Because what's happening when any type of thought conjures up over and over, it's coming to teach us something, right? There's medicine in that. And so allowing it to just be. And so thinking of the practice of, I'm feeling nervous. Okay, I feel the nervousness in my body. I can feel it in my belly. I'm just sitting with it. I'm just nervous. I'm allowing it in. Okay, then what's beneath that? And it's this little scavenger hunt that we go on, right? And then we just start to investigate. So then what's beneath that? So the I is investigate with kindness. So we go underneath that. We continue to, okay, so maybe that's just a fear of being judged. All right, so I'm sitting with that fear. Well, what's beneath that? And keep going and going and going until we get to a little gold nugget, which is never what we think it's going to be. And we say, oh my God, that was from that one time when I was 5 years old and I didn't get picked to be on the volleyball team at the church picnic, right? Like all of those things. And so we just keep going. I just pull my earring out. So then what the N is that we look at it. So the N stands for non-identify. So we investigate, we see it, and then we're like, no, that's right. Like I'm not fearful of that anymore. I know that I know that I'm okay because I didn't get picked for the volleyball team or whatever it was, that that's not the essence of who I am. So I no longer need that. I'm not attached to that any longer, which is really, really powerful. And I love those little tricks of things where we're like, okay, rain, RAIN, right? Like our minds love tricks to be able to sit in those moments. So just practice that and just identify, like invite it in. And Tara also says, invite it in for tea. And Emily, I know that you can appreciate this. We're like big tea lovers. So like invite invite the thought in for tea. Sit with it, right? Like just sit with it as a friend. And what is it bringing to teach me? Like what's beneath that for me, without judgment or without attachment. So it's really beautiful, and really sitting with that. And then we'll notice as when we start to allow it in and we start to see the truth that's coming through from that, that it doesn't show up as much anymore, right? We're learning that truth that's beyond that. So really, those really beautiful, like getting those mindset techniques, really powerful. And the last and final component, which really I feel wraps all of the work that we've talked about so far, is embodying our essential truth, value, and worth. Embodying, like being in that, letting it in, calling it in, sitting with it, living as if, right? And as females, it's so important to really recognize that our bodies are so different each and every day. And that in a 28 to 30 day cycle, our hormones are completely different at any given moment. We go through cycles just like the seasons, right? Winter, fall, spring, and summer, starting to connect to that. And I've got some really juicy nuggets in the handout that I'm going to give you guys, that it helps you start to break that down to see that, okay, in order for me to embody the life that I want to create, that means that this week I'm going to rest. Like I'm not gonna pick up my computer. I'm not gonna say yes to these invitations that I've had to go to these social gatherings. I'm just gonna rest. And then at this point in my cycle, I can see that I'm so creative, and I wanna put myself out there. I wanna be on video, or I wanna really, put myself out on like a dating site or whatever it is that's coming up for you, right? Like noticing that, like really starting to notice how can we optimize and really embody the life that we want in every aspect of our lives. And I think that really starts with slowing down and listening, staying in the observer's seat, seeing what's coming up, really allowing ourselves to love ourselves as if we would love a child or a best friend, and continuing to send that nurturing acknowledgement out. And I always like to think about too, getting curious about what is it that brings me joy. And I brought this up a little bit at the beginning, but as a child being outside, I like got myself lost in the day, right? I would have my nose in a book, or I would be building a fort or playing in the stream. How can I start to call that in more now? Can I take myself to the beach for a walk? Can I make sure that I have a little touch of nature in my life every day? Can I connect with a friend over the phone? What is it really, like what part of ourselves are we putting out there that's giving us so much back, that we're filling our cups up over and over and over again, and really calling that in as far as making the decisions of what type of exercise feels good in our body, and like what type of food do we want to eat, what really feels so nurturing to us, and really beginning to embody that sense of freedom, joy, play, feeling alive, right? And I think that is the most beautiful way to start to kind of bring all of that back home. And something that I want to sort of pose before we kind of go into a little conversation and dialogue is, if not now, then when? And if not you, then who? Right? And really, like, now is the time for all of us. And I sit with that as such a responsibility, in this current moment in time, that this buzz of this rising of feminine essence and sovereignty and power is so palpable, and that it would be a disservice if we didn't all stand in that at this moment, because we have little eyes and ears watching and listening. We know in our heart what our truth is, and just staying really connected in that is so powerful. And there's nothing more powerful than a woman standing in her true essence and her truth. And so I kind of leave that as a gentle little challenge for you guys to really sit with, what is it that I'm calling in? And what does that look like for myself? And how can I utilize all of these knowings to begin to step ahead of, really taking the power of the mind and using it as our biggest tool? Yeah, so hopefully you guys got some juicy nuggets out of that. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to pop in the chat the handout I promised you guys around the feminine flow and lunar connection, so to make sure that you guys have that for you. But I would love to open up for anything that you guys have, or any thoughts that came through, or just anything. I'm here.
I just want to say how beautiful and amazing, just dropping into that beautiful meditation and all your pillars. I think that it's really, really so important to just, look within and deeply. And for me, I guess I've been really working the last couple weeks of unhinged pleasure for myself. What that's been coming up, and especially working on some of my second chakra stuff. Unhinged pleasure has been a huge topic for me. Juicy, right? So I think that for me, the desire is to see how I can possibly get that, because as a woman, I can feel pleasure, and I do feel pleasure. But for me, that unhinged is like that rawness, that wild, that free. It's unapologetic. It just doesn't make any excuses. It's just present and there. So this whole conversation has really brought that up for me. So thank you so much. I love you.
I love you. I love you. That's so beautiful. And yes, right? Like just stepping into it. And I think what I can see with you, Danny, too, is like the momentum of it, is that we invite it in, we allow ourselves to sort of put the toe in the water, and then we're like, ooh, I like that. Like, I like the way that felt. Then I'm just going to jump in, right? And just allowing ourselves to just be flooded with the goodness of that is so contagious. Thank you for sharing. Mm-hmm.
Hi, I'm Noelle.
Nice
it's
to
meet you. Yes, thanks for having this space, cultivating this space.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just starting to kind of step into this work, specifically for marginalized communities. And it's really cool to be in spaces with other women who, like, this is how they lead their lives. This is just very normal, and it's not woo-woo, it's not, wackadoo or anything like that. I just want to thank you. It's interesting because in my business, this is the stuff that I teach, but it's always just such a wonderful reminder to just remember these things. And as I'm just getting started, I wrote down fear, scarcity, comparison. Those are my repeat offenders. And those are the things that continue to come up for me. So just practical tools, practical techniques to start to just reprogram, deprogram and reprogram, deprogram and reprogram. And I find it's a hurdle. It's a hurdle, especially within the communities I'm a part of. It's almost cultural. It's almost cultural to have a scarcity mindset, to compare yourself to others, to, you know, be fearful and to step out there. So I'm just really grateful to share space with you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. That's so beautiful and so important to bring up. I can feel that, the truth of that for you. And I also just want to acknowledge too, I like to think of it, it's like a muscle, right? And the more like that you start to practice and the more that you start to feel that release, it just becomes part of you, right? It just becomes part of your, just who you are, your essential nature. And yeah, I think it is, I live in this world essentially, and it is important to see that like people live their lives like this and that it's possible and not to feel bad about that, or right, to be completely unapologetic that we all deserve this and everyone in our sphere deserves this. And so I acknowledge the work that you're doing and I thank you for that. And I can see really beautiful things coming. Yeah, welcome. Thank you.
Does anyone else have anything? I was just going to say, this was such a great reminder, and sort of piggybacking off of what Noelle shared. I think as people who are teaching some of these concepts, you know, or who are supporting other people, this has been so helpful for me to hear again. Like everything that you ran through I was like, oh yeah, right. Oh yeah, right. Like it helped me to kind of like ground back into some of these concepts and ideas that, you know, we're living life and things are happening and things are changing all the time. And just having those reminders today was so helpful. And I love this like RAIN acronym. That's so good. And I'm definitely going to remember that. And I loved really like the emphasis on living as if. Like that was such a powerful reminder in the littler things. You know, I think I get really like esoteric about living as if sometimes or something, like, but it can be so practical and like moment to moment, like, okay, like my environment and like what I do have some control over and what I can move around or change even just slightly to make it like to really shift things in my space energetically and otherwise opens something up every single time. And yet there are little things like tiny things, you know, around my place or whatever, clothing. Like, okay, what do I want? Like, just do it, live as if, and things start to happen, things start to move. And yeah, I love all of these pillars, and especially all the powerful questions that you asked. And I wrote them all down, and I'm planning to like pull them into my journaling practice this week. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. Yes, I love, and I think right, it's breaking it down to the basics. And I like to think there's a reason I chose the garden meditation, right? Because if you think about tending to your garden of your mind, right? Like you're not going to go out and pull one weed and then just skip over another one, right? You're going to weed the garden. You're going to plant something beautiful, cultivate the soil, replace it with something gorgeous so that then you can see the bounty of the work that you're doing, right? And so really being, the word mindful, but being mindful of the mind, being mindful of what we're allowing in and what we're deciding that it's got to go. Yeah, and little things that make such a big difference, right? Like the way that we dress, the way that we eat, what feels good. Those things matter. It's feedback, right? And it just gets stronger and stronger the more we call it in. So thank you for bringing that up. Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say, I think for me, I'm like finally getting to this place where I was almost like resentful about like having to do so many wellness things to like be well. And I went to an acupuncturist last week and she was like, no, she's like, you take care of so many people. all day long, like I'm a coach too, she's like, you have to be taking extra care of yourself. And I think it's something that, you know, is like a mindset shift for me. Like, okay, I don't have to do these things because like something's wrong with me. I'm a highly sensitive person, and I'm also pouring out so much that like I have to step away and make this routine for myself, or else I'm not well for everybody else. You know, I don't have enough to give.
Yeah.
It was refreshing today to just like be in space with other women that are doing that, and just be like, okay, this is a good hour of my time because it's important for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. And what came up to me is like, not only do you need those things, but you're choosing. And I think when we switch that, they're like, I'm choosing to take care of myself today, and it looks like this for me, right? It doesn't have to look like anybody else's way of well-being or self-tending, but in order for me to do that, this is what my way looks like, and it's my choice, right? And standing in that, because that's a hell yes. And then we just move on through, and then it becomes easier, and then it's like, okay, that's just part of who I am. And that's that embodiment, right? Of like, this is what I need and this is what I choose. So it's really, really powerful to bring that up. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
One thing that I loved was the pillar of embodying truth. I think, was it essential truth, or yeah. And I think that I'm feeling called to, like, I have always taught yoga and meditation on the side and had a job full time. And it's almost as if it's like the embodiment happens like when it's easy, or like when I step into that space and I like change a shift. And I think it's like this whole experience of 2020, just everything has really called to be like, okay, you don't get to choose when you embody it. It has to be all the time. And then the realization of like, that means, what does that mean in the career that I'm in, and how does that shift it? And of like, I guess, yeah. And then that also goes and like kind of piggybacks to your now, because then I like future trip. And so I just thought today was like really helpful and very relevant.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and that's so true. And you know, a lot of people, I've heard it called, it's like, this is your initiation, you know, and that can be really exciting. And when we bump up against the edge of what we've known and we're asked to expand, it's supposed to feel a little scary. Like, it's supposed to feel a little, you know, like that jittery. But it's in the it's a book, Leap. I can't remember the name, but it said fear is excitement without the breath. So if you can think about that, right? Like when you start to feel the fear, just breathe into it, let that in. And then it's like, all right, no, this is something I'm being called forward. Like, I'm calling myself forward into this, and I'm being called. And when we know, we know. And I think it's also coming back to that space of, I know, right? I don't need it anymore because I know. And that's all we need, right? That's all we need. So it's really, really beautiful. I'm excited to see what's calling you forward.
Me too.
Oh, beautiful. Well, I want to respect everybody's time. Thank you so much. This has just been so beautiful. I'm honored to be able to share this space with you guys. If you guys are looking to sign up for the SBA with Emily, I've got I'm going to put it in here. It's my name. It's a little promo-y code to be able to get into that group. It's the, Emily, I'm blanking. I've got Business Alchemy, but it's not.
Soulful Business Academy.
Thank you. Soulful Business SBA. But again, just, you know, the power of this work is so important. And I just see and honor each and every one of you. And I'm so grateful to have spent this time with you today. So thank you so much. Please reach out if you have any questions or anything else. I'm here. Yeah, lots and lots of love to each of you.
Can I just say real quick before everyone leaves, if you missed any part of this you want to go back and rewatch, Stacey's going to put the recording in the Facebook group in the like event. She'll put the recording of this call, so you can go back and like take notes. Or I know Teresa, hi love, just hopped on toward the end, so you might want to go back and rewatch the recording. Anything else? I think that's everything. Oh, well, we have another training coming up. We do these weekly, as you guys may or may not know. So we have another amazing training coming up, and I can't remember exactly what the theme is or who's doing it or what's next week, because I haven't gotten that far on my Monday. But you know, check the Facebook group where you found this, and you'll see the whole lineup. Marissa, is it you, or do we have a week? It's you. Yeah, that's right.
I'm like, I think it's I haven't
I
gotten
think
to
it's
next week either, but
I know, it's like Monday at 3. My brain isn't fully turned on for like all the things yet, you know.
yeah.
But yeah, we have a training with you coming up next week, which trying to remember the theme, because I know, oh, it was
With me?
about, do you remember what your title is called?
Yeah, it's gonna be
title is?
holistic stress management.
Yeah, I was like, it's not self-care, but I can't remember what it is. Holistic stress management, which is sure to be amazing and much needed in this time.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you everyone for coming. It's so good to see all of these faces, like familiar faces. And I love Noelle's been here for, have you been to all of them so far with Lilia and or just Jacqueline?
No, just Jocelyn.
So far. Okay. Yeah. So
Thank you for
it's good to
having me.
see you all.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Good to see you. Bye.